Kalu. Namaskar,
Hariom ji.
Shukruji.
Hariom ji. Namaste. Hariom. We'll just
Then
wait.
please go ahead.
We'll just wait for a few more minutes, say 3 minutes,
Yes.
and then begin. If anybody has any query, anything you want to look at again from the Gita that we have covered so far, any question, anything you wish to ask, you are welcome. Or we can just wait for other participants to join. Either ways. Hariom Srinivas ji, Namaste. Hariom Krishnam ji, Hariom. Hariom.
Harivam.
Hariom. Oh, Hariom Sarita ji, Hariom ji. Hariom Pushpa ji.
Harivam ji.
Hariom ji. Hariom. Hariom. We'll be starting what is the fourth Adhyaya shortly. You can just wait for a few more minutes for participants to join, after which we can begin our session. I request all participants who can turn on your video feeds, please do turn on the video feeds. It's much easier to interact. Thank you. Hariom, Hariom Rajshri ji.
Hari Om. Hari Om,
Hariom.
Shashiji. Hari Om,
Hariom.
everybody.
Hariom ji. So we'll just start in another minute. We can begin our session. We're going to be starting what is the fourth Adhyaya. All right, we can begin the invocation. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Mukam Karoti Vachalam Panghum Langayate Girim Yat Prapatamam Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Hari Om. Yes. So Hari Om. So we are now beginning what is the fourth Adhyaya. Before that, as usual, we need to form a link. So can anybody establish a link? What is it that we have seen last? Yes, please. Anything that you can recollect. What is it that we saw last?
We were talking about the desire part.
Okay, ji.
Like we are all driven by desire. Krishna is telling Arjuna that we are driven by desires, and desires uh, And then when we what we call as growth and desire going, because of our desire we get growth, we have people do sins.
This was a response
And
to Arjuna's question of, it was a question there by
why do
Arjuna.
people sin?
Why do people sin? Okay, yes, Ji. Ji, Ji. Please, yes, please continue.
And also Krishna, what I mean, the gist was coming out is that just like fire is covered by the smoke, just like that our truth is also covered by our desires, which is like hiding everything.
Ji.
So we are all driven by desire. It is the one which is creating all the problems. So we
Ji.
should. That's why sadhana is very very important, which makes us free from all the desires and the chaos created by that.
Ji, Ji. So what about Krishna saying we have to crush our emotions when he says you don't become a slave of desire? Is it about crushing one's emotions? Crushing the emotions of an individual? Yes, please. Anybody? Is sadhana or the spiritual path about crushing an individual's emotions?
No, it is not about that. It is just
Controlling
like
the
Krishna.
emotions.
Ji, Srinivas, it's about controlling, or can we expect
Controlling
something you
the
control?
emotions. Yep.
Yes, but when you control with force, there is always a rebellion. There is an action,
Managing the emotions.
probably managing them, or maybe even transcending them, is it not? To understand and through them, it is like sometimes we'll have our likes, we'll have our dislikes. We can understand that we have our nature, our swabhava is there. Krishna has told paradharmo bhayavaha. Going against your swabhava and completely is also a danger. So how do you do that? It's a very fine line. Likes and dislikes are okay, but when you get carried away by your likes and dislikes, that is the problem. And you forget your duty because of your likes and dislikes. Your moment's duty or your dharma or what you need to do. If your personal choices take you away from what you must do or what you need to do because of wants, then that's a big problem. It is something which is going to prevent your growth. So yes, and Krishna had asked one Arjuna had asked a very good question. What is it? If you are talking about following inner nature, what is there in this inner nature of people that is making them do this sin? Because we see people doing wrong things. Arjuna was a nice man. He didn't do that wrong things like he's seen so many people do. And he was wondering why does it come naturally in their minds? Probably Arjuna, if he tried to act also like Duryodhana, he would not be able to act because that's not his swabhava. He's like, what is the reason that people behave this way? And Krishna talked about that. It is something called Prakriti. It is like a software which is functioning inside all human beings. Krishna has said it has been so. Prakriti has planted this software, what we can call three gunas. Like we have nowadays modern operating systems, there are three which are very famous. People say Microsoft, or you have a Mac, or then Linux, something like that. Three gunas are only there everywhere you see: Rajas, Tamas, Sattva. We have not been talked, not much has not been introduced. We have just been told that yes, there are these three gunas. So Krishna says it is because of these three gunas, and in that guna he has identified the root cause of what makes a person sin. Arjuna said, where does the person get the force to rebel against the inner harmonious spirit of the individual? Krishna gives that very important point. He says it is Rajas. It is desire and its furious sibling anger, Kama and Krodha. These are all ensnaring, all polluting. The wisest of the wise can get taken for a ride because of their uncontrolled desires. And the intelligence doesn't matter there. Why? Because now this person, whatever good the person may have on the inside and everything, if he allows his own desire, if he allows his own desire to take control, then it's going to be waste, no matter how brilliant the person is. And we saw an example yesterday of what happens to mind and buddhi when the desire is the driver. It is like you've got a useless driver who's not taking you to the venue only, who's taking you to the opposite direction of the venue. What's the use then? There is no use of that. Better get out of the vehicle. You don't want to be in that vehicle which is not taking you to the right destination. When you know it's taking you in the wrong destination, consciously we will not allow ourselves to be driven in that direction. But problem with desire is it controls your mind, it controls your buddhi also. Sometimes it makes you think that yes, this is right, I need it, this desire is more important. And many times in these moments of anger or these moments of we can say lust, these moments we ruin some of the most sacred and beautiful relations in life or the best moments because because of uncontrolled natures. So that is something which Krishna is saying. So Krishna says, this is your first fight, not against Duryodhana, not against Bhishma. I want to mark my opponent, Arjuna had told in the first Adhyaya. Take me to the center. Wrong before he thought he never imagined he would be depressed and all of it. He was ready to battle, but first thing was, I want to find my opponents whom I should mark. Krishna says, no, not outside. These opponents are inside. So identify them, he says. They are the proliferators of sin. Stop looking at outside, he says. This is what many sages also do, and there is a beautiful Kabir's doha only. बुरा जो देखन मैं चला बुरा न मिलिया कोई जो दिल खोजा अपना मुझसा बुरा न कोई. Meaning, I went in search of bad. I went in search of bad people also or bad things. Everywhere I searched, I could not find. And then I turned inside and I saw there was nobody worse than me. Now, I don't think Kabir Das was a bad man. What is he talking about? He's talking about his own inner sages do that. Sages do sadhana, tapasya for inner purification. They say, no, no, stop looking outside. Look within. And Krishna is pointing out the same thing. He says, see, inside. This is the reason all the problems arise. Control, understand, probably transcend. Because even controlling requires force. But when you go to the root and you transcend slowly, slowly, it is all right. Imperfection is also okay initially. Smoke is going to cover fire. It's all right. But slowly, slowly go towards that purification is what Krishna says. Then we saw levels. Anybody can talk about, there are 4 levels that Krishna had talked about. Levels of consciousness, if we can call it. Indriyanam paranyahur indriyebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhiryo buddhehe paratastu saha. So Indriya, then Mana, then Buddhi and Saha. Can anybody just recollect that? So we go immediately into the next chapter after that. Yes, please.
I think first level is of Buddhi.
First level is Indriyas ji, Srinivas ji. The level senses.
Manishi.
Yes, that was
Manishi.
1 second,
Second
Srinivas
level.
ji. Hariom ji. This Kavi Manishi Paribhu Swayambhu was a Vedantic, what we can say, just a parallel that I drew. In the Gita, we are talking about first level is the level of the Indriyas. So Kavi will not.
Indriyas.
Indriyas is the level of senses. There, Kavi cannot function at all. Means Indriyas is the just level of the senses, reactionary live experiences because of senses. You hear something, you taste something, you feel something, and you go after that on that level only. So next, after from that, can we look at it, Srinivasji? Indriyas, then
Manasi.
Manas.
Then is
Yes,
the
yes, ji. Yes, Swati ji. Oh, yes, you were saying, or who? Yes.
Yeah, it's the mind, Manasi,
Mind.
which is like the king of a finite kingdom,
Ji, ji,
like
ji.
limited basically.
Yes.
And
So
then comes Buddhi,
Buddhi. Yes.
and then comes Saha, which is that which is higher than Buddhi, which we might say is like intuition.
Uh, no, Saha is Buddhi is equated. We can equate Buddhi to intuition, and then there is
With intuition,
yes,
okay. And
but
Saha is that,
something higher. Yes, the supreme,
higher than
ultimately,
Buddhi.
the divine, complete, the supreme divine. And if you see this same thing, like Swatiji perfectly said, Raja of a finite kingdom only, because Indriyas are giving finite inputs. Indra also has. That is why in the Vedas we have a nice dialogue between Agastya and Indra. So Agastya is trying to go for that Saha only. He is saying he wants to go beyond this Indra also. And Indra comes to him and he says, why have you forgotten me? Why are you going in this? And he also corrects him. You cannot directly jump to that place. You'll have to go through me. And there's a beautiful dialogue between Indra and Agastya. And then Agastya also says, yes, sorry, I forgot. But Indra addresses him like a brother and comrade in the dialogue. He says, I understand you want to go there, but you cannot go without me. You'll have to go through me. So this is a level which we have to ascend. And that higher state is what Vedantic rishis have reached. And Krishna says that yes, these are the 4 levels. And interestingly, we stopped at with a question also, but the last, because Krishna has told that with this knowledge of the Supreme Self, means the Supreme Self, there is something which is supreme, which is immaculate, perfect, eternal, some that divine. This knowledge, he says, all these forces that are attacking your mind, your buddhi, all of them, gather yourself, summon your courage to take all these are attacks only, is it not? When desire pulls you or anger tries to, somebody behaves wrong, all right, that's wrong, you know that. But when that wrong makes anger inside, sometimes people have panic attacks, people have uncontrolled emotions, people have so much frustration, like a volcano is about to explode inside. So these are all attacks of emotions, and Krishna is saying, with this knowledge of the Supreme, says, gather yourself from these attacks that are coming towards you. He says, mighty armed one, the formidable enemy you must slay. Destroy desire for truth's light to make way. Beyond the veil of desire only is that Satya. We don't realize that. Many times we feel that desires are everything and we do a lot of things out of our desires. Then we get the karma phala and then we wonder, what was this desire? Or I was feeling so happy seeking that desire, but actually after receiving it I am not getting the happiness. Why is everything so tasteless? What was I running after? Or why am I not enjoying what I desired? That's a problem. Desire is going to be like a fire which is not going to quench. Instead, go into the truth is what Krishna says. And he says, yes, with this knowledge you can control yourself, you can protect yourself, is what he's saying. So this was the question. How what is Krishna meaning? Anybody would like to add? What was that we saw, or anything you want to share about this knowledge Krishna is saying can help you protect yourself from these attacks, and you can go towards the truth? Yes, please, anybody. So with that we'll be ready to enter into the next adhyaya.
Awaken intelligence.
Yes, Jay, awakened intelligence. Yes, with this knowledge, how is it helping us? Means there is a supreme, there is a divine. Krishna is saying, use this knowledge to protect yourself from these attacks and allow light to manifest, allow the truth to manifest. So, how can we become conscious of, or how does it help becoming conscious of the divine when dealing with desire? Because we know about desires, they are circling us all the time. So, how does a knowledge of the divine help us? Now, Krishna is talking about understanding or even realizing, but realization also apart. But even if just getting the understanding that yes, the divine is there, how can we control or protect ourselves from these attacks? Yes, Savitri
So,
ji. Yes, please. Okay, Dr. Poonam ji is adding something. Okay, anybody?
so we just said, we just recall that there are 4 levels, and the last level is Sah.
Sir.
So, if we know that Sah is there, is in everybody.
Ha.
So, if we feel that everybody is same, or some buddhi, or how can I say that you identify that Saha inside you and all.
Okay.
Then maybe.
Okay, so Dr. Puramji has shared a very interesting one, and in the Gita we'll come across this shloka also. Vasudevam Sarvamiti, some Mahatma Durlabha. It is a very rare, Durlabh individual who can see that this Saha or this divine inside of everyone. Yes, that was one more. That is a one wonderful way of looking at it. Yes, Savitri ji, we're adding. Yes, please, Savitri ji. You are on mute. I'm sorry. Yes, Savitri ji. I think there is some audio issue. If you wish to, you can type because I think I'm not able to hear your voice. If you have some speaker or you can type, I'll read out your comment in the chat box. Yes, anybody else would like to look at it? So Purimji has talked about one very good Vedantic truth actually. Yes, you can recognize the divine.
I have a question here. I have a
Okay,
question.
okay.
Like you gave an example of Indra tells that you have to go through me, even if you are in the divine. So I have a question. Like I mean, there are 4 levels:
Yeah.
Indra, Vidmana, Buddhi, and then the. So somebody knows about it. Let's say it is.
Haha.
So how do you jump to the last level, the
So the
how do
question,
you
the
jump
problem
to
is not jumping. The problem is we have to ascend naturally because anything that happens quickly.
yeah, the traverse is there, but you're going through that whole cycle.
No, but
But
if you are
still you
conscious,
know that.
what I'm saying is we need not focus on jumping into that level directly because that is the story of the entire Vedic Sukta between Indra and Agastya. And Agastya also recognizes and he says, no, There was a slight ahankar inside of Agastya. He wanted to, what Indra? I'll go directly. And Indra recognizes that and he comes to Agastya and he says, so what, brother, you're going for that place? Are you ignoring me? Do you want to not? Do you want to bypass me? Because he is there. He's there at that stage. He's going to take us ahead only. And then Agastya says, no, no, I want to help me. Please give me blessings so I can go there. So this is the thing, because directly, because many times when we try to, like even in dhyana, people start visualizing individually, they put their own image and their own auto suggestions, and they kind of go away from the truth at that time. Instead, let that probably happen naturally. Of course, it does not mean everybody has to go on these levels. A person can go from like in 1 to 3 also directly, but let that happen naturally and not become forced by an individual. Means it's like some of the margas like Tantra marga says no. Some of the, if we look at the Vama marga, they talk about using the senses. Senses have to be experienced. They say no, pleasure, and through pleasure then reach to the Shakti. But there are others who say no, it's not required. It's like my friend had told me touch the fire. I was stupid enough when I was a child to go and touch the fire, and then I learned that fire is hot or fire burns. So I burnt my fingers then. But my sister was wise. She didn't have to put her fingers inside the fire to know it is going to burn. So this is something which an individual can also go, but only it happens naturally. And sometimes why we can say, because if you see, when you think mind is everything, what's going to happen? My mind is everything. My mind is an infinite Raja. It's not a finite ruler. It is capable of everything. When the individual's ahankar takes over. When the individual's ahankar takes over, there's no chance for intuition to come into that person, because everything is from me. I will not receive something from higher. So that time you can just recognize or remind yourself, yes, this is my capacity. Maybe I know the thermodynamic equations of so many heat and mass transfers, but I can't say I know all the thermodynamic equations of what's happening in the world. So let me start becoming a little more humble so I can gather some more knowledge. Next, after that also, you sometimes people get into the habit. I remember poetry. I was so happy. I'm getting it from somewhere, and I went to my teacher and I told teacher, I'm getting poetry. I know how it is coming. I am able to get it when I want. He immediately told me this directly. He was actually very angry with me. He said, मैं बंद कर दूंगा जहाँ से आ रहा है. He said, I'll stop from where it is coming if you are thinking you are doing it. Because he said, no, it is not right. Because you start, there is something about ahankar, it has not been introduced too much yet. But the individual aspect, sometimes when you are conscious, let the divine do what the divine wishes to. We don't have to directly take that role. Only we need to look at our own progression. God knows when that progression will happen. It may happen immediately also. It can happen instantaneously. It may take some time. But when you are conscious that there is this journey you have to take, or there is something beyond what you are seeing on the level of senses, this knowledge will easily help you, because kama and krodha work only on the level of senses, which is the lowermost level. So when you just realize that there's a big, beautiful journey ahead which you have not taken, and you don't want to get trapped in this smaller things, then you will easily, probably that is the aim, what Krishna is trying to tell him. See, recognize all of this. There's this higher truth. Recognize that higher truth, even if you don't understand it. It's like, don't see the sun fully. Our eyes cannot see the sun, but you can feel the warmth of the sun. You can probably look in that direction, feel that morning light fall on us. That's a joy. So probably this is one thing I feel. I think I've not yet seen Savitriji's message. Probably in the group, if she shares, we can have a look at it. So I think with this, we are probably ready to enter into what is the fourth adhyaya. The fourth adhyaya. Before we begin, we'll look at the illustration. Yes, please. Yes, can somebody describe the illustration? Yes, please. Just describing what is there. One participant had joined and that participant could not see. So if you describe the illustration also, if there is someone like that, that person would be able to understand it. What is the illustration in the, what is the meaning there, or what is the message coming out of it? You can just unmute, you can describe it however you wish. Yes, please.
Do you want me to read out, or you want me
No,
to?
you can just tell me, describe the image, no? Yes, please.
Yeah, it says that within all of us there is something superhuman.
Okay, yes. And what do we see in the image, Gayatri ji?
A boy is there, like within him, a Superman is there, a girl is there, and an angel is there
Okay,
within her. So we think we are we limit ourselves that we can do only this much in many
okay.
cases. But when situation comes, we ourselves would have experienced.
Ji.
We would have done something which we have never thought
Okay.
we could do.
Okay, so that hero which we are searching outside or somewhere, hero will come to our
Yeah.
rescue. That is actually inside of us, is it not?
Yes.
And
It is
that's
only that when it reveals, then that at that time only we'll know that yes, we
oh
could do all
yes.
those things. Till then,
That
we won't even know.
we remark at wow, we had this strength, or how did we do it? We sometimes wonder, is it not? And
Yeah.
okay, yes, Gayatri ji, that is wonderful. Anybody wants to add further? You can add to what Gayatri ji has said. After which we'll go ahead. Yes, please. Anybody would like to add further? So Gayatri ji identified something
Also,
important.
what we
Yeah.
see outside is very minimal portion of it. What we think, what we are, is
Okay.
very minute or insignificant portion of it. But what we are actually is
Okay.
something beyond which we ourselves could not imagine,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it reveals only
When you
at
get that
very
eyesight
few occasions.
and when you are having that insight, is it not,
Yeah,
Gayatri ji?
yeah,
It's like we see just the tip of the iceberg. We don't know
correct.
such a great thing is there underneath the surface.
Yes, you said it. Yes,
Yes.
this
All
is what
right.
I wanted to convey. Thank you.
Ji. Yes, ji. Thank you, ji. Thank you. Yes. Anybody wishes to add further? Or we go ahead. So yes, there's the message here. There's a champion inside all of us. Yes, please go on. Who is speaking? Yes, please.
So,
Ji, Pushpa ji.
we have to bring out that
Potential of divine.
potential of divine from us.
Yes, Pushpa ji. So inside of human beings, there is this divinity. This divinity has to be manifested. This divinity is there, but it is unmanifest. So when we can, there will be that hero, and that hero which we are searching. Sometimes we wait, we wait, we wait. We don't realize we are waiting for ourselves only. Nobody comes from outside, and then suddenly we realize, no, now enough waiting. That sleeper gets up. Hanuman begins to realize, yes, I can jump, I can take this leap. I don't need to rely on. I have that strength inside of me. So Krishna is saying this that when I mean the message here is it is said that when man can awaken the godly trait inside, every human being has the potential to be a divine representative on the earth. So this is something like that. We will later on understand what is representative. It is like a vibhuti, what Krishna talks about later on. Well, every single one of us, each of us is having that potential. There's a nice Sanskrit shlok as well. Amantram aksharam nasti, nasti muli anaushadam, ayogyah purushah nasti, yojakas tatra durlabham. Means there is no word which is not a mantra. I think that we must be knowing. So many chants are there. Om Kari Sushti Rupare, Reem Kari Patipalika. So each one word can become a mantra. So there's no word which is not a mantra, means which has no potential of becoming a mantra. Mantra is something which can bring about a transformation. It's different from a general word spoken. So there is no word that is not having the potential of a mantra. Nasti muli anaushadam, where there is no plant which is not a medicine. Ayurveda recognizes that every plant, you take sometimes one plant, its root has a different medicinal value, its leaf has a different, its bark has a different value. The type of delivery of that drug also is different. External topical application, consumption as a decoction, as a churna. But each of it, this shloka says every plant has its value. Every plant has a medicinal value. Ayogya Purusha Nasti. There is nobody who is useless, that this person is capable of nothing. This sometimes teachers use that dialogue very wrongly, but that is not true. Every person is capable. Then what is the matter? It is Yojakas Tatra Durlabham, the person who is going to transform the word into a mantra. Sometimes the medium who can transform that. What we can say, a teacher is required for somebody who is having no value to recognize that yes, there is value inside, or something. That person must get that knowledge how to do it, or a Vaidya is required, or at least an experience is required to understand that this herb has its value like this. So this is the thing, every one of us have that potential, and there is something about that divine potential that Krishna is going to be introducing in this Adhyaya. My Arjuna is mightily silent. We do not know, is Arjuna accepting or rejecting all the statements Krishna is making. He is just quiet. Sometimes quietude is, sometimes silence is half consent, but sometimes silence is complete rejection also. So we don't know what is Arjuna's state. He will reply. Let us see. Fourth Adhyaya begins. It begins with Krishna's words only. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. This secret, what he's talking about, and he just goes on. He says, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manurikshvaka vebravit. And his lordship Shri Krishna spoke. This way of yoga I first taught the sun, who then revealed to Manu, who was the first mortal one. And this knowledge to the first king Ikshvaku Manu transferred. Thus, in this way, knowledge passed on from the first word. So Krishna says, I taught this supreme secret of yoga, or the entire truth. I passed it on to the sun, he says. Then he passed on to Manu, he says. Manu transfer passed on to Ikshvaku. So maybe we are far away from Manu, we are far away from Ikshvaku, we don't know anything. Arjuna knows about them. So Krishna is telling, see, these are all these great ancestors of yours. I passed the secret. I gave them the secret. Now it is a full revelation of Krishna's divinity we see in the fourth Adhyaya itself. I thought all of this, he says. He goes on further. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. We look at the first line. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. As per this parampara, as per this sacred tradition, he says, this tradition was then upheld by the regal sages. So the great Raja Rishis, they upheld it. Sage after sage, it was passed on, he says. It was, and from sage to sage, it was conveyed in succession. So it was passed on, sage after sage. My just one question is, has anybody heard of this game called Chinese Whisper? Yes, somebody can tell.
Yes.
What is it about? Yes, Depti ji, if you
So
would
you
like.
have to tell a word in the ear of a person, sentence or a word, and then the person it goes on the chain.
Okay, it goes on in a chain. This
Yeah,
person
and
passes
then
on to another.
at the end the person has to tell what did he hear
What did he
from him.
hear? All right. What does happen?
Yes.
What happens in that? Yes, Gayatri ji. What happens in that game?
Basically, it shows the transmission loss.
Transmission loss, is it not? He started saying something here, and this transmission loss is there even in electrical power lines. Electricity also from one pillar to another it goes. There is a loss. All calculations are done taking into consideration. Yes, this much electricity is going to be lost. Loss on transmission, heating effect, ADAs. So many other calculations are done. So the engineers already take into consideration that this much loss is going to take place. Now here Krishna is talking about so many generations.
Unfortunately, this is unpredictable loss.
This is
We see in
unpredictable
engineering.
loss. Okay, okay. Gayatri ji says at least there are rules for not predicting. For predicting this, the engineering aspects, you can calculate this is the loss, but here it is not. But then here we have Krishna, is it not, Gayatri ji? So we need not worry about that loss also.
Correct.
Yes. So let us see now. Is that what is Krishna saying? Was this happening? So what? Even these Rajarishis were losing out little by little. Many times in at least in professional colleges also, when teachers
I feel
teach.
Krishna is it is something inadvertent and
Yeah,
wanted, no? So
it's
here I think Krishna is doing all these things as a known or
knowing. He
wishful
knows it.
loss,
He knows it, and he
wishful.
says human beings we will have that. It is a nature, is what he is taken in for granted. But yes, yes. But if we see this this transmission that's taking place from sage after sage. So somewhere, even in modern day colleges, sometimes teachers say, yes, I will teach my student this much. If I teach more than this, the student will know as much as I know. So I will not reveal all of it. Or even in Kusti, that one Tao is there which the master does not teach. Because tomorrow time comes, I will show that onto him, but I will not reveal my technique. I will not teach him. This is what people feel, that you should hold on, you should not share. Knowledge has to become more, it is not to be revealed to all, it must be concealed. So what happens then? The teacher has taught 80%. This student becomes teacher tomorrow with 80% knowledge. And then he tries to teach another 80% of what he knows. Finally, what's going to happen there? This is going to be loss in complete disappearance. So it's a conscious one, but sometimes it happens unconsciously as well. And so what do we do? So Krishna goes on. He says, "Oh Arjuna, this knowledge that was passed on by the sages, with the passage of time, it got lost in transmission. It got lost. We lost the full wisdom, the Vedantic wisdom, the Vedic wisdom, which was a part of everyday life. If you look at science, spirituality, there was no division in the ancient times. Art, spirituality, all these are different streams today, but that time it was so beautiful. The heliocentricity of the earth was known, but the sun was described like a charioteer holding different planets together. So many, all of them are around. That was at a time when there were no telescopes, people had not yet in the world established, but it was so artistically and beautifully described. So this knowledge, art, all of this was one, and suddenly now we've lost it. Krishna says, yes, it got lost in transmission. Then what happens next? Sa evayam maya tedya. But then always have no fear, Krishna is here. That kind of dialogue we get immediately because Krishna comes to the rescue. He says, this lost wisdom, I am going to reveal again, he says, because I shared it. He says, Sa evayam maya tedya yogah proktah puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. So again, he says, I will share it, and why? Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. This is another very beautiful secret in the shloka. Why is Arjuna chosen? So many people were there. There was, why? Vyasa was also present. Why not directly give to Vyasa? He is going to write down, is it not? Why go to Arjuna and create such a long diverted? No, there was something special in Arjuna, the Arjuna Krishna relation. That is why we enjoy the dialogue also. We sometimes make fun of Arjuna, but there is something special about Arjuna, which is why he is chosen. And Krishna says, the same knowledge that I had first thought, I shared with you to enlighten your thought. This king of secrets to you too I shall lend, for you are my devotee, my dear friend. So this is your bhakta, you are my bhakta, and you are my mitra, sakheti, you are like that, you are my sakha also. Many times this is a type of bhakti which people enjoy. They have this sakha bhava of divine. It is considered to be the best. God is your friend. You're not afraid of God. And that time when Krishna is saying, because of this, I will share it to you again, to my dear friend. You have your love for me, and out of that, I am going to. Sometimes we go an extra mile for our friends whom we love. Is it not? We don't care. We don't do any calculations whether or anything. Something like that. Something like that. Krishna is saying. One thing is, do we have to fear God? Is a big question. Because many times I'm a God fearing person, people try to say publicly also. So, is that necessary? Do we have to fear God?
That may be the initial stage.
But is it necessary, Gayatri ji? The
No,
fear.
it is not necessary. The moment you have the Sakhya or other bhava, if you can have that friendliness or you feel it is part of you, then you don't have to fear on
Yes,
that.
yes,
But
yes.
for initially for the kids or when we were kids to
We
have
were told, probably, we were told.
no, to
No,
inculcate that there's
when,
somebody is
yes,
watching you.
yes, yes.
Don't do any mistake. Don't do anything wrong. So
Okay.
we always even now,
Huh.
if we see that somebody is looking it from inside, like Sakshi Bhuta,
Huh.
whatever you
Okay.
call,
Huh.
then you don't do mistake.
Okay.
Otherwise, you try as a human being, you tend to do.
So you feel, Gayatri, fear is a necessary requirement in the, like a necessary evil in this chart. It is required.
That is the first stage I can say.
You can say,
If you cross
okay.
that stage, then you don't need it.
Acha, okay. Gayatri says, okay, maybe it may be required initially. Anybody agrees or
No, I
disagrees?
don't think so.
Okay, yes, Milanji, yes, please. You do not think so. Okay,
Uh,
all
what
right.
it means is that God is love, but have fear for doing wrong action.
Okay, okay, fine, Milanji, all right. So Milanji says, but have fear for wrong action. Okay, Deepti wants to add. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so that we need to fear because we have the confidence that God is there with us. Like for
Hmm.
a child,
Hmm.
let's say when we tell the child, okay, whatever you do, we are there with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So then the child gets that confidence. Then the
Okay.
the question of fear becomes like very
All
frequent.
right. Okay, Deepti ji. So sometimes fear has its own negative traits, which really makes us in different. If I do this, God will get angry. If I do this, this is going to lead to this consequence. Arjuna had fear for so many things. Varna Sankara, then for his ancestors, for the Pitars, for his future, for the future generation, for the tragedies in the society, the earthquakes and all things which are going to take place because he is doing his duty. These are all imaginary fears. Fear breeds fear, and one I would like to remember, actually recollect how Damliji had told his experience as a young executor. Of course, sir is now 75, but 76, 1947, sir was born. So yes, now. That time there was an era where fear was made a necessary thing. Initially you have to have fear for God, because at least then only you will have, and this was something he did not like from the inside, but his elders kept forcing it on him. You should have fear, you should have fear. He was not able to understand it, and but he carried the thought, and there's something sometimes you don't really understand, go to the truth, some questions are kept in abeyance, so something like that. And as an executive, he was just traveling, and at the station that time, for 1 rupee and all, you would get very beautiful books, and he got a nice book, small book. He says, in that station I just saw one book, Bhagwan Hamara Mitra, some yogi, young yogi had written. He was like, what? Bhagwan Hamara Mitra? Can God be a friend? How is this possible? And he was very curious, and the topic only touched him so much. He said, no, no, I'll look at it. He said, but he said, I took that book, and then in the entire train journey I was just reading it, and he said, after that day onwards, Bhagwan really became my mitra. I never had any fear, because this fear is something which is in kind of in some sort of ignorance, because later on Gita talks about abhayam sattva sanshuddhi, where abhaya is there. You are having consciousness of the divine, or you're conscious of the divine presence. Any force, anything opposing the truth, you don't have to worry about it also. So sometimes fear is not a requirement, so it comes out of natural consequence. I remember when I was very young, I didn't know I had Ram Nam inside of me. My father went to ask me to go check when there's water in the tank. So I climbed up. I climbed up the big ladder. It was no problem. Climbing up was very easy. And then when he asked me, I said, yes, there is enough water. There's no problem. Motor is fine. All of it. Okay. Then I time to come down. And now this ground floor, first floor, I have climbed 2 stories up. And I looked down. It was really, really scary. And I don't know how Ram Ram started. And I came down. Till that day, I never knew I am having this jump inside of me. But there, fear is there. But that fear is not really required. Afterwards, maybe that fear went away. Gayatri ji says sometimes it's initially required, or more than required, it happens naturally. When it is away, well, that time you can see how Krishna is. There's no fear in Arjuna's mind for Krishna. There's only love and sincerity inside of him. He's a bhakta, and yet he's. And so, what is he getting because of his Maitri Bhava? It is not because Arjuna's intellectual prowess that he's receiving this wisdom. He is not because he's so great, or he's done great karmas or anything. His jnana is something like that, but because his state of his bhava. Yes, Diptiji wants to add something. Yes.
I was just saying that we are all conditioned
Yeah.
with that emotion of fear. I mean,
Yes.
whether we call that emotion also or not.
Yes.
And like for example, one day my son asked me, "Are you scared of anything?"
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "No." He said, "Are
Okay.
you not scared of God also?" I said, "No, because I have confidence in Him, so
Yeah.
He will always be there with me."
Ji. We
So
don't have
although
to.
I have also been conditioned because we are in that society where it's been, but that sometimes you need to come out on your own and say no. I'm going to stand it. I mean, stand for things which are
Yes.
like really
Yes.
in my good.
Yes. We may not have the fear of the unknown. It is not a necessary aspect. It may come as a human nature. We have so many flaws in our nature which sometimes we have to correct. That is all right. But it is not a necessity. And we see here Arjuna is not having that fear. And what is he getting him? He is getting the great Brahma Vidya, the highest knowledge of the Gita, and the great association and company of Krishna himself. So this Maitri Bhava does wonders. If you can make God your close friend, then you do not have to worry at all. Your life becomes very, very much a great joy. So now my question is one more is, if you are in Arjuna's place and Krishna says, I am going to tell you that same wisdom. Krishna has told you directly, I am going to pass on this wisdom to you. This high wisdom which was known to all of these, to Ikshvaku, to Vivaswan, to Manu, to the Rajarishis, all these great yogis who have done great tapasyas, these legendary figures. That same truth which I thought I am sharing to you, what would your reaction be? Anybody? Just what would your reaction to be to Krishna or your bhava or anything?
Would feel that most luckiest person.
Luckiest person, Gayatri ji is saying, okay, that is one. You'll feel lucky. Anything else? Any other emotion?
Elated.
Elated, okay, okay. Lucky, feeling elated, feeling ecstatic.
Astonished.
Okay, Gayatri ji is astonished.
Because we asked, till then he was seeing Krishna as his friend. Suddenly
Okay.
he says, I
Yes.
had seen
Yes.
previous things.
Okay, so astonishment is there. Yes, Srinivas ji wants to add.
Gratitude.
Gratitude. Okay, that's also beautiful. That's the best emotion if we have. Sometimes gratitude is there. You don't need to say any prayer other than thank you only. That is enough. You don't have to ask also. When gratitude is there, you are getting in that state. So we've seen all wonderful emotions of.
Responsibility.
Okay, Rakhi talks about responsibility. So we're saying,
So it's like you
Ji,
you are being
passed on this
given
wisdom.
that responsibility to pass that wisdom.
Okay, so I'll have to use it right. With like it is said, with great power comes great responsibility, something like that. Yes, so we are seeing all these nice bhavas. But just look at our Arjuna. What is he going to react? He is not feeling gratitude. He is not feeling elated. He is not feeling happy or astonished. Just look at his reaction. Arjuna Uvacha. This is again the freedom of Sanatan Dharma in classic. It is shown in this shlok as well. Arjuna Uvacha. अपरम भवतो जन्म परम जन्म विवस्वतः कथमेतत् विजानीयाम त्वम् आदौ प्रोक्तवान् इति. He says the sun god, Arjuna is questioning. The sun god was the first amongst the living. Even before your birth was the sun's beginning. How is it that I can comprehend what you say? That you instructed the sun on the first day. He says the sun was born when we celebrated your birthday. Janmashtami is, yes, I know all of that. But there was the sun already. Sunlight was falling on you when you were born, Krishna. What is this? How can I understand? How can I comprehend that you made some time machine? You went back there, and how do I understand you went and told the sun? It's like I have told Shishyasteham means fine. Then you will say anything and kuch bhi, I'll have to listen. Whatever you say. He says, no, I don't get it. How is it that I can understand? He is not grateful. He is actually asking, no, my logical mind. He's still in the level of his mind. He says, no, I cannot understand. How is it? How is it that I can understand, son? Vivasvat, this is but my question is this a logical question that Arjuna is asking?
I feel yes.
Yes, is
Because
it not?
now, because we are seeing it after so many years, and
Huh.
we know what has happened. After
Okay.
seeing the climax, we are
Okay.
reviewing the movie now. Whereas he was part of it that time, he didn't know. He was seeing it as a friend only.
Okay.
And it is the battlefield. He's totally confused.
Yes, yes.
It is natural, I feel.
It is natural, is what Gayatri ji is saying. All right, so let us see. But now this is the problem with logic. Krishna has told so much. I am going to give you that high wisdom. You are my sakha, you are my bhakta, you are my mitra. I'll pass it on to you. And his logic is saying no. He's not accepting the Maitri Bhava also. He says, no, my mind does not allow me. I don't believe in this at all. How can I say? How can I understand? And Krishna again, patient. He doesn't get offended at all. That is another beautiful aspect of Krishna. No matter what you tell him, he doesn't get offended. He just smiles and Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Krishna says, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vetha parantapa. Shri Krishna answered, many births before, O Arjuna, I have seen, and many times born you too have been. The only difference is that of all of them I know, but you are unaware of them and hence don't know. He says, oh, this Krishna that you are seeing in front of you, this Krishna also has taken birth many times. He says, Arjuna, even you, what do you think? There was nothing in the world before you were born. Yes, you were also born before. But the difference between Krishna and Arjuna, probably difference between us and Krishna also is the same thing only. Krishna says, I am conscious of my births. You are not. There is a great Vedantic statement as well. Kruto smara, kritam smara. Meaning, remember the great deeds that you have done. Implying to that, there are things that you have done before. This Jivatman is coming again and again. But remember, oh hero, remember what you have done before. Forget not. And it repeats again. Kruto smara, kritam smara, kruto smara, kritam smara. Remember it, he says. But here Krishna is telling, see Arjuna, the only reason you don't comprehend it is because you do not know of this. In the last Adhyaya also, in the previous Adhyaya, when Krishna talked about the Atman inside of individuals, he said the difference between like Arjuna is already panicking of what's going to happen in Naraka. Krishna says, see, you don't know what happened before. You only know that what you are experiencing. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So when you don't know, you know only one third. Why can you take such? How do you? On what logical basis can you get such great confidence that you know and draw a summary? You don't know more than 50% of the stuff. So something like that. Arjuna is now thinking because his individual experience is everything. He says, no, I don't believe. I cannot understand it. If you see earlier, if somebody had told us this, that we could sit and talk to people from far off, we could interact with people we don't know also, and just like that, and just we can at the comfort of our home, we'll be able to talk. People would say this is crazy, this is not possible. This man is simply thinking. Or people saw planes flying in late in the now it is very normal thing. But if somebody said no, no, that's actually people, so many people inside of a big metal container, people would say it's crazy. This person is not sensible, because now the method is known. When the method is known, then we say yes. Now we say yes. We can talk to people from far off without actually meeting them as well. So something like that. Krishna is saying, see Arjuna, don't get so confident just because you don't know does not mean it is not there. Krishna says, yes, you also have taken more births. You are not conscious of that. Many times parents see in their very young children at early age 3, 4 and all, they suddenly start behaving, and many times it is up to a small period after which the memory is lost for the kid. But right after birth, there is nothing in the atmosphere that suggests that this person has got picked it up from the atmosphere, but the child has their own traits. Some child behaves in a particular way. There is one parent who shared her experience that this child had a very extra fascination for temples and would suddenly say some kind of mantra kind of words would come out, which they also didn't understand. We didn't teach. Where did he hear and how did he pick that up? They never understood it. After a while, the child forgot after he grew up. But there was, I said, no, it seems to be a connection with a previous birth. Some scientists have documented also trying to understand such experiences as well. But whatever it is, we are not going into that. What Krishna's words we are just looking in. Krishna is saying, see Arjuna. So the difference between Krishna and Arjuna. Imagine what would happen if Arjuna would become Krishna if he understood what was there, what was before, what was now. That link if he established, he would understand all that is happening. Maybe I'm falling now because it has some meaning why I fell today, because tomorrow I'll have to rise again. And you can see beyond a limited finite perspective as well. But that insight is with Krishna. What is preventing it? Well, that is called Maya. Gita introduces the concept of Maya. This is Maya which is not allowing us to see. Maya is blinding us. Krishna goes on. Just an introduction of Maya is there now. Later on, we will see a little bit more detail about it. Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavamyatma mayaya. Though I am imperishable and birthless, the Lord of all beings, eternal and timeless, I descend into my Maya's existence. And in nature, I bring forth my presence. He says, though I am eternal, though I am supreme. So again, Krishna is talking about Janma and Marana also for himself, taking new births. He's saying, I come into this, though I am eternal, I come into this world, he says. Into this Maya, in the existence of Maya, I bring, why do I come? Why do I take all these efforts? He says to bring forth the presence. In the Maya, the divinity has to manifest. So it is something, Mayapi Parabrahma. Maya is also having an ansha of Brahma which is probably waiting to manifest or going to manifest later on. Krishna then says one more shloka, and this is a beautiful trademark shloka which gives a lot of confidence to people in their even difficult moments. They say, no, this darkness is all right. Tomorrow there is going to be dawn, and this shloka gives them that confidence. These are the words Krishna has said, which have been often quoted. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyathanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamyaham. I'll look at the next shloka also. It's like a dual shloka only. Why this happen? Why does this happen? Well, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami Yuge Yuge. So Krishna says this. He says, at all times, when righteousness is at its wane, O child of light, whenever there is a reign of darkness and pain, when injustice and entropy blares on the human side, my avatar descends into the mortal realm to turn the tide, for the deliverance of the good who are oppressed, to obliterate all the world's evil that has coalesced, to once more coronate the kingdom of light, to once more coronate the kingdom of right, epoch after epoch. I manifest my light. So again, Yuge Yuge, I keep coming. Why do I come? He says, to bring a change, bring a change in the situation, to bring about a turn. Every time this is there, there's a cycle in human existence. There is darkness, there is light, there is Nisha, and then there is Prakash of the morning again. Day and night, something like that. There in this consciousness also, Sri Aurobindo calls it a evolution and involution taking place. There's an evolution and involution again that keeps happening, and Krishna is saying that my avatar comes and it comes exactly at that time when there is no hope. It looks like everything is gone. Now there is no chance. Human level is not going to solve this. There's a limit end of our intellectual logic. We don't see anything. We see only darkness. We don't see any hope. At that time, the intervention takes place, he says. My intervention comes. He calls it the avatar. And then I turn the tide. How many times in human history, in Indian history, we have seen that? How many times? Every time it looked like this land is no more going to survive. You see, people did not attack only for our wealth. They wanted to eliminate our source only. And why? Nalanda's fire was burning. How much oppression this land has experienced. Every time, best example I would always think, of course, so many states are there, but for me, my native state, Maharashtra, look at that. There was a time when that state would not exist only. There were these Mughals were there were the Siddhis, there were so many, there were Adil Shahs, all of them, Topikars, all of them on taking over a piece of land, and there was no concept of that time. There were princes and kings fighting. Same with the Rajput side also. How many times? Every time it looked like it's going to end, and then suddenly somewhere suddenly someone finds that light, somebody becomes a representative of the light, and the tide turns, and we still see that happening at different times. So this aspect, Krishna is saying that my avatar enters into the realm every time, every yoga. There is a moment comes for mankind when there is going to be loss of hope. There is no direction, there is no logical meaning of going ahead, and that time I enter and I turn the tide, is what he says. So avatarhood also has a purpose, is what we see, to bring about a change. Now before we look at it, can anybody just recollect the names of the avatars? How many avatars are there at least?
Innumerable.
Okay, Gayatri ji says innumerable.
10.
10. All right, we can say vibhutis are innumerable, but 10. Yes, Bhamaji, yes please.
Matsya Kurma, Varaha,
Okay.
Narsimha,
Okay. Matsya, Kurm.
Vamana,
Yes.
Vamana,
Okay. Yes.
Bharat,
Bhamaji, can we go one by one? Can we go one by one? What was the first avatar of in this
Matsya.
list? Okay.
Matsya.
So in this Dasha avatar list, we say about Matsya. What was Matsya?
Fish.
Fish, is it not? So fish. And what was the first life form that was existing on Earth? Was it not aquatic according to science?
Yes.
Yes. So we see, yes. So first avatar is the avatar of a fish, of this fish which was there. So yes. Next, after that, what is after Matsya?
Kurma. Kurma.
Kurma.
Turtle.
Kurma is turtle. Turtle was it aquatic or was it terrestrial? Both. Is it not? Both. It was an amphibious life form. So next, in the avatars also we see now this avatar brought about one more a shift in the consciousness from aquatic life form. Now we see amphibious life form into existence. So yes, from Matsya we have Kurma. After Kurma,
Varaha.
Varaha. Varaha is what?
Boar.
A wild boar. And if you look at the symbolism behind the avatar, the stories of the avatars are beautiful. Children also love it so much. Each of these stories have their wonderful meaning also behind the stories. But just looking at the symbolism, if you see, next is the avatar of the boar. Boar is terrestrial, is it not? Now terrestrial life is suddenly started from aquatic to amphibious to terrestrial. So yes, so then now animal nature has come into existence, which is terrestrial. After that,
Narasimha.
Narasimha. So is this man or is it beast or is it what is this? If you look at
Both
it,
animal.
both.
It's both
It's a both. It's like
animal
and human, half animal, half simha, half nara, Narasimha avatar. So yes, this is the next avatar. Another change in consciousness, or we can say in the avatarhood, is Narasimha. And then after Narasimha, what was after Narasimha?
Vamana.
Vamana is what? It's like a prototype of the man. Is it dwarf? Dwarf.
Yeah, little boy, the dwarf.
Yes, a dwarf man. So next, before the full man is able to come, the dwarf man is coming in the avatarhood. If you look at the symbolism, so we have Vamana. All right, and after Vamana,
Parshurama.
Parshurama, the he-man, is it not? Parshuram was like that, and Parshuram was known. We have also seen his about him once before. He's like that. I will fight. He was that absolute he-man. That was how Parshurama was. Jamadagnaया vidmahe Mahaviraya dhimahi tanno Parshurama prachodayat. Or they say Agratas Chaturo Veda Prashtada Sarasandhanu. I have all of this. I am Brahman, I am the Kshatriya, and I will slay and I will cut. I have to. There is an operation going on. I will not tolerate it. I will rid this world of Kshatriyas only was his mission that he had taken up. So that was the next avatar we see Vamana, Parshurama. So what after Parshurama?
Rama.
Okay,
Rama.
yes, Sri Rama, Rama avatar is there. Yes, and what is the contrast between Rama and Parshurama? Anything?
More polished.
Okay, Gayatri says more polish. We should be careful. Parshurama may not like that so much. But yes, we can say Sri Rama was what we can say Ramachandra, who was like the perfect man, the ideal man, at a
More
time when
calmer.
more calmer, more what we can say, let's say Ram Rajya. That is exactly now he's come to Ayodhya after a very big gap. So he took his own time. He took his time. But yes, Parshurama. After that, there is Rama. Rama was what we can say somebody who laid the constitution of or foundation of how a person should be, and for that, how much suffering personally he had to undergo. He had to his own personal life. He had to sacrifice so many things. Why? Because he had to establish a precedent, an example how people at times kings would marry so many wives. He said, "No, for me one Sita only. I will not marry anybody else." No, he would, and his own principles. So many things he had to sacrifice. Father says, "Go to jungle." Children say, "No, I am not going." People say, "Go get grocery." Children say, "No." Here he is giving an exile, but he says, "Okay, Father wishes, I will," because he had to establish that ideal of what is the perfect way. And sometimes sacrifices have to be made, and here he himself had to become a part of the sacrifice to establish what was Ram Rajya. Many times it's like Praja takes precedence over Raja also. This is the thing. Even in modern day democracy also is about the power of the Praja, and there he had to teach the Praja through his own way, and so he had to make a lot of personal sacrifices. He was an avatar, but how many chamatkars did he show, or how many miracles took place around Rama? Not like
He was acting like a normal human so
like
that
a
he could
normal
set the
human being.
precedence.
So it's like God is experiencing the pain of man, not allowing his divinity to also intervene. Only once we saw again, anger was visible once. He looks at the Samudra and he says, "No, if you do not allow me to go to meet my Sita, I am going to drain this entire ocean. I have that much force. Don't make me use my divine powers. I will function. I am following the rules of Srishti. But if I want, I can break it. Don't you dare come in the way." That was exactly how Rama was. But then what happened after Rama? Who was next after Rama?
Krishna.
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 G.
Yes, there are some interpretations they call Balarama. Balarama is considered as the avatar of Shesha also by many. So we will look at Krishna as the next avatar. Yes, so how about Krishna and Rama? Difference?
Rama was more ideal.
Yeah, yeah.
Krishna was as he was also behaving like a human in the sense, but with some nuances.
what
like
we can say.
I mean, like
Yeah.
as we say, na, a child is a naughty child, or
Okay.
not an idle child. So
All
Rama
right.
was an idle child, and Krishna
So,
was like a naughty child.
okay, Deepti ji. So probably can we say Rama was perfecting mental consciousness of the
Yeah.
mind, where logic and everything according to the human tarka only. He did not try to operate on this level which we call higher than mind, or what Sri Aurobindo calls over mind, or all of that. He did not operate much on, because for the people right now, first mind has to be established before you understand that. How can we go to the next level if we look at the parallel that we saw in the Gita? So yes, but Sri Krishna, yes, I'll come to you, Pushpaji. Just one second. Just yes, ji. So after this, Krishna was somebody who went higher than the mind. What we can say, over mind. Krishna is talking to one person, playing Shakun dice with Shakuni here. There, Duryodhana comes and Duryodhana sees Krishna on the other side, and Duryodhana he's just having a dialogue with him. Oh, you're going like this to meet your mother. That's all he says. Or Krishna is also elsewhere as well. So many, sometimes people got the experiences of seeing Krishna at multiple places, but we know Krishna was in one place. So what is it? He's working on that level which is higher than the mind. What we can say, it's like sometimes if you look at we have the constitution, then there is something which is the spirit of the constitution. If the spirit of the constitution is not upheld, what's going to happen? You have to, why is the law there? The law is for the betterment of the people. If that law is not leading to the betterment of the people, that law is a law which must be crushed, annulled, or removed only completely. That even the constitution recognizes that. That is why some rules are then removed permanently also. So something like that. Rama established that ideal that you must be like this. You see, be an example. Follow your words. Have this. These all things were important. But then people started taking it too literally. I said now Draupadi must be everybody's wife. Share your gift, so now she's everybody's. I took this pledge. My pledge is more important than the pledge of my pledge to my spirit or my pledge to the people. No, for this king, I have pledged to the throne. But what does the throne? Whom does the throne serve? It serves the people. Can Bhishma allow anybody who is not fit for ruling the people rule? He's going against the throne only, because throne is to serve the people. What is happening here? Here the individual tendencies, individual things started taking too much precedence, where what was the spirit of the statement, spirit of the truth was missing. So there was a need for evolution. We will not say Rama did not have it, but the society was not ready. India first had to have a constitution, otherwise what's the use? Then the constitution can be improved and evolved over the years. Something like that. Krishna comes into the role. Krishna comes into the picture. His Leela is there. He's functioning. So many experiences. So many things, people. So we saw, if we can say, one is the example of perfection of mind. Another is somebody who is living in the overmind area, who is doing, or Sri Aurobindo calls it. He was an overmental avatar who was able to function higher than the level of the mind. Logically, you cannot find fault in Krishna because he is already there. He has functioned on the level of logic and he has taken one step ahead. He says, "Just look at this. This is the sun. This is Jayadratha. Arjuna, now you have to fight." So many places he broke the logic, but we would say he transcended it, trying to show the higher truth is there beyond logic as well. So this is the avatar of Krishna. Who after Krishna? Yes, please. Bhamaji, you are on mute. I'm unable to hear you. Sorry.
Am I audible?
Yes, Ji. Yes, Ji. You are again muted. I'm sorry, Bhamaji. Bhamaji, you are muted again.
I don't know, something wrong with
Ji.
my iPad.
Ji.
Yeah. Jayadeva calls that avatar Buddha.
Yes, Buddha.
He means the same.
Hmm.
Krishna is the enlightened. Buddha means enlightened one.
Yeah.
So he means Krishna as Buddha in that thing.
That, like you said, it is Jayadevaji's interpretation, but we can see Buddha is also recognized in our Sanatan tradition as the avatar, one of the list of the avatars by many great weekend ones also. We'll just go by that interpretation if you look at it. Yes, before that, Pushpaji wanted to share something. I'll come to that. Yes, Pushpaji, what is it you wanted to ask?
Yes, Ji. What I want to insist is Vamana evolutionary takes place here.
Yeah.
Balarama is a perfect man. And then how to live in this Bhuloka is first. So
that
Sri
is-
Rama shows that.
Yeah.
After that, the little bit evolution, Sri Krishna.
Okay. All right. Okay.
This he wants to insist.
Yes, that theme of evolution is visible. Yes, Pushpaji. Hariom. All right. Yes. So, yes, so this next is Buddha, but if you know the story of how this great Shakyamuni Buddha, how he was born, where he was born, what was his situation. When he saw suffering around him, he did not like it. He wanted to go, and he showed how an individual can himself go and achieve that nirvana. He reached that nirvana looking from the suffering, through the suffering. He used that suffering as a fuel for his advancement, and he reached to that higher state of what is that supreme truth. Means directly, the direct jump. I think Aditya was asking highest. Well, yes, Buddha jumped to that highest state. He went there. He got that nirvana, is what understood. So then this is one more avatar who is now what we can call a type of an extinction of the human being into a complete merger into that supreme consciousness. But was the avatarhood over with Buddha, or is there something after Buddha also? Is someone? It's like they're all passing the baton. One avatar passing on the baton to the other. I have done this work. Next is yours. Next is yours. So what is there after Buddha?
Kalki.
Kalki avatar. Yes, Dipti ji, Bhama ji. Kalki avatar. Now, we will not debate on Kalki Avatar because he's not yet come, and we've had one session where is he coming on white horse or is he coming on black horse? No, there was a fight. There was a fight. He was coming on black or white. People were saying, no, this person says it's black, another says it's white. We do not know. We do not know. He's not yet come. However, he comes, he can come on a bullet also. We don't mind. It is all right. He has to come. That is what matters. So, yes, whether he is holding a sword, whether he is holding a bazooka, we don't know. Yes, Pushpa.
In between Buddhas and Kalki Avatar, Uttama Purusha Avataram.
We are looking at the Dashavatar system, Pushpaji, because there are people who have made so many, they can say Ashtadasha also. They are all, which is fine. But now in the context, we are looking at why they call Dashavatars, a generalized accepted. We are looking at the theme. So just for, we are trying to get to the symbolism, meaning of avatarhood. All right, Jim. Hariom. So yes, as we were saying, so the Kalki avatar, this is the avatar which, and if you see, each avatar is passing on something. So Buddha's work also is not over. Here is the individual realization has been taken place by this avatar. What next? What next? Well, then there is this. When will they come? If you get in, if you become free, it's all right. But what about everybody else? If everybody has to ultimately become extinct, what's the need for everything then? Or imagine if there's a possibility of collective realization, if there is an awakening in multiple places, multiple people, and every time now this time, what is the next shift? Some people say the paradigm of the avatarhood only can change with Kalki. Instead of single avatar, there may be a multiple avatar manifestation itself at one time. And I think we have all seen in life in different places of viral moments taking place. Suddenly, somewhere people start getting inspiration, things happen. So many places, it suddenly moments spread. Many times, wrong things spread. We have seen a pandemic spreading because of a virus which is going elsewhere. But imagine if something right can spread so powerfully, so wonderfully. It would be a great transformation. Maybe the next avatar would be next state would be something of a realization. But again, that is a ground which has to be created. Even the avatar for the when prime minister or somebody has to arrive, ground has to be cleared. So something like that for this avatar, maybe the world is still getting ready. We are going through experiences, but if we are lucky in this lifetime, we may be able to see it as well as what many believe and aspire. So if you see the avatarhood has what we saw was this entire connection of avatarhood. We stop here at shloka number 9 and we will continue from shloka 10 tomorrow. The ninth shloka says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mame iti sorjuna. Krishna says, he who understands my birth divine and knows the ways of my divine works, after death his consciousness merges into mine and he relapses not into the cycles of endless birth. There is something called Punarapi Janma, Punarapi Marana. In life also sometimes we go through repeated cycles of our emotions coming in a particular way, and it's like we are not in control and we are just being moved around. So this unconsciousness disappears when Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam. When you understand that even this realization of the divine existence in the world, the divine's presence, it has a power to free us from these bonds of repetitions which trap us every time. Now, what is it we saw just in short actually, but the avataarhood has its own symbolism. If we can understand something, the divine's existence, some tattva, some marma, if you realize in your life, you're able to connect those dots, you'll actually become free. And Krishna says, even this realization, if Arjuna realized this now, instead of wondering if how what was the technique Krishna adopted to pass on the wisdom to Surya, instead of trying to go into that logical technique, if he tries to go on what was it that he taught to the Surya, probably Arjuna will also be out of his cycle of suffering right now, his own emotional disturbance and depression. But it is one way good for us, though it's not good for Arjuna. He's going to have these emotions, these questions are not yet cleared, so his doubts are still going to persist. But somewhere that knowledge liberating, the power of knowledge to liberate, that is a theme which is recurrent in the Gita. Why they say this is the, why it is said that knowledge can liberate or knowledge is described as light, is because this knowledge can dispel all the sorrows and suffering. And here Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam, my divine Janma, my divine karma, if you can recognize, you are going to be free, is what Krishna says after talking about the avatarhood. Ajnana timirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya. From the darkness of ignorance, let there be light. Asatoma sadgamaya, where we say, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, from darkness to light. And that light, if we receive it, we can probably transform. Krishna is introducing, but we see, I do not know again. Arjuna, we will see later on. Arjuna is going to share what he understands with us, like he did today. I don't believe you, Krishna. He's directly told in the face. Krishna is so beautifully told, I'm going to share the secret to you, my dear friend, my dear beloved. He says, no, I don't believe it. You don't, just because I like you or I respect you does not mean you can say anything and I will accept it at face value. Krishna, it's not going to work with me, is what he's saying. So we'll see how it goes. I'll conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Any queries are there? We will see. Hari Om. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. हरि ओम तत्सत्. कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं. हरि ओम. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Yes, please. Any queries? You are welcome. Hari Om.
Saira,
Hari Om. Hari Om ji. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Saira,
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om ji.
I wanted to.
Hari Om ji.
Can I say something?
Yes, please ji. Most welcome ji.
On 24th of November 1926,
Okay.
Aurobindo ji said that divinity has descended on earth.
Ji.
So, was it the indication of the avatar?
Yes, but and how many were conscious? And when that happened, after that, the mother worked on it, on so many, and it is said that realization when that descent took place, even in the ashram, so many people had left everything to come and experience the power of descent which was going to take place, the descent of the divinity. Only 3 were conscious, only 3 or 4 people were conscious of it. So yes, the descent is there. It is the avatar that is live. We see in the 13th Adhyaya also that the divine light is there around us. Only it is not manifest. We are yet to receive it. We have to perceive it. Is that we need a separate eye? We need some kind of cataract surgery, or what do we need? We do not know. But yes, Milanji. Yes, there is there. It is there. Only we have to become conscious of that divine existence. And Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, even now we're going to be celebrating so many years of his birth. But in spite of that, not everybody knows about it because it is not yet reached. But if you see this year, it is a special year. People are slowly now turning to his truths as well. But it is the way. I think ultimately truth realization comes. It just takes time.
Maybe the world has not still come to that bad stage.
Yes,
when,
probably.
This should manifest.
Yes.
The divinity should manifest. Still,
Yes,
the time has not come.
Yes, Sri Aurobindo talked about agnostic societies being created first. Means torches, no, different places. These are awakened societies of people who are awakened and many times the impact of society on the circle around them is very powerful. So when these people become, as Krishna has also told, become the example, become like Janaka, become. So when instead of one awakened intellectual in one place, we will have societies of intellectual people. And what will these people do? They will again keep spreading the light. So it's like a good viral movement. Most of the viral movements we see now are all emotional level, on the level of Indriyas. So it's like effervescence of the cold drinks, how it is. After a while, it settles down. It doesn't. People forget why they came. And it's over. It's a moment which lasts for a few moments. But imagine if it can be sustained, and probably that is the next generation. But we are going towards that direction, I think, Srinivasji. Certainly. There's much good to hope for also in the future for India as well for the world behind all of what's happening now. Ji, Hari Om. Yeah, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Om ji.
Hari Om ji. Hari Om ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om ji.
Zakaru?